Good afternoon. Thank you for all being here. I'd like to open this workshop. Today's, what's today's day? July the 19th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. As you know, we've been talking about this meeting for the past few weeks. One of the things that brought our attention to this is how is it that we're prepared when something like what happened a couple of weeks ago, how are we prepared? What are we supposed to do? What's our function? What's our job role? And thank you, Chief, for putting this together. I know that I reached out to Chief Garza, and one of the things that we talked about was, Chief, you need to let us know, educate us as to what is my role as city manager, what is the mayor's role, what is the commissioner's role, what is everybody's role when something like this happens again. God forbid that we're going to be unprepared, so this is what we're trying to do. We want to be prepared, we want to be proactive, so the next time we're not caught off guard. Thank you, State Representative, for being here, Mr. Martinez, for being here with us. We really appreciate that. Mayor?
Yes, let me just echo a little bit what Mr. Arjona mentioned. Also, I want to thank you guys for being here this evening. I want to thank our Representative Armando Martinez for being here. I know he's been a big asset for us. For what, 16 years or how many? 16 years in the legislation. So that's beautiful to have him here today. He's done excellent work for not only San Juan, but the rest of the communities he represents. And I asked him to come in here as far as with his knowledge, and I know part of his background, he is a first responder as well, you know. So, but like Arjona mentioned, just these recent rains that we had this past June, you know, first of all, my heart goes out to all the families out there who were affected by this. I experienced it. I was out there. I know I was with Chief Garza. We were out there, you know, helping our citizens during this time. And one thing I did notice is that, I mean, everyone did their part. You know, Chief was running around, you know, but I just felt that maybe when I spoke to Arjona, I said, maybe we need to come together one day and figure out the plan of attack, you know. Hopefully, God forbid, we don't have anything like this or even bigger, you know, but we just need to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I can't say that we're all in the Rio Grande Valley, we're all prepared here. We're not, you know, but what I can say is we can be proactive. And once again, Chief, thank you so much, Chief Gonzalez as well. So that's why we're here today, ladies and gentlemen. And so that way we know what our role will be in case, if anything comes our way, we're ready. Okay, go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, State Rep. Good afternoon, everybody. I guess we could pretty much cover two grounds here. We can cover the discussion of after action, after these recent storms that we had back in June 20th and 21st. Pretty much the prediction, I pretty much tend to keep everybody up to par when it comes to the weather. Everybody tends to call me and say, hey, Chief, what's going on? If it doesn't get to that extent, I'll call them and let them know what's out there, regardless whether it's hurricane season or not. I guess we could pretty much say that our systems were, the new projects that just were undertaken by the city pretty much didn't fail us. What happened was that we just got too much rain and too little of time. In that area, which we're talking about 9 inches in a matter of 3 hours. As far as Las Flores subdivision, you know, we pretty much, that was my main concern because I knew that project had just gotten completed. So I went out there and pretty much assessed the situation at about 4 in the morning, and the water was already rising. So started making phone calls to get these people, of course, sandbags. That was the first approach, and we got personnel to respond, opened up the recycling center, and we loaded up the pickup trucks and our trucks and pretty much took sandbags to these residents. At 11 o'clock that morning, I called an emergency meeting with staff, and the reason for that was that we had a lot of debris in that subdivision that needed to be picked up. I requested all department heads there, and we set up a plan of action was to go in there and do a quick sweep for Las Flores to pick up the debris, because we did have more rain coming in the next day. So that got taken care of. As far as planning and being prepared, we've been through several tropical storms and threats in the previous years. And we pretty much, I activate the EOC pretty much pending on weather notification from the National Weather. If they tell us a tropical storm is brewing out there, we start taking proactive action and start setting up ourselves and preparing our families for us to actually come to work. We get account of, through the state, of course, of people that with special needs that need to be evacuated. Those are the primary. Back in 2008, I don't know if you recall, State Rep, I think it was Dolly, that they actually initiated, they were going to request or call a mandatory evacuation for Hidalgo County. All the resources were moved over to our area to start the process of evacuation. Well, we lucked out. The storm hit north of us, but we were prepared. As far as the department heads here, the roles that they play, it's pretty much in our, I put them here in the plastic on the binders. Everybody from the mayor, you're the director, sir. You call the shots, and I coordinate everything.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
I want to introduce Mr. George Zambrano from the PJ School District.
Yes, sir.
He's here to join us just in case anything happens that we need collaboration with the school, so that we're all aware we're working
Correct.
on this all together. So, Mr. Zambrano, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Not only the schools, but also for transportation.
Definitely.
In case we need some buses.
Our current MOU with the school district is up to par.
Good.
We count on them for the buses. The only thing that we do might be a concern is the amount of buses that we have for special needs, which are the wheelchairs. I believe we have to split whatever we have into 3 cities.
Now, do we have a list of all the special needs
Yes, sir.
citizens that live in our community?
Yes, sir. We, with the state of Texas, we have an emergency assistance registry.
Okay.
We get that, we pull out that information, and what I have staff do, being that this storm is 4 or 5 days out, 6 days out, staff will go through that list, my staff will go through that list to confirm that everybody's still active. Because a lot of times what was transpiring has been, they've either passed away or, you know, they're no longer live in the city. We have a total, in our city, we have a total of 150 registrants that we need, that are special needs. We tend to them first, we'll evacuate them, and like I said, we have an MOU with the school district and utilizing their buses. But the only thing is that, the last time I checked with Mr. Guajardo, I think we had 22 special needs buses. So we were gonna split that among the 3 cities, but actually, I just got a recent update, the nursing home just signed an MOU with the school district that they're gonna need a bus to evacuate. For all these operations, fire department, police department, Parks and Rec are gonna assist in the process of evacuating these people before we get hit by the storm. By that time, like I said, we should be clear and ready to go and just bunker down and prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
So when you say before the storm, are we looking at 72 hours before the storm? Are we looking at 48 hours before the storm?
72 hours.
Okay.
72 hours. We play a major role. Our operations are going to run basically in unified command under the county also. They'll be assisting us with resources. Shall we need resources, they're just a phone call away. And I will say that I think we're fortunate enough that we do have quite a bit of people in the county that are San Juan residents that it's their priority. Just the other day, I reached out to the gentleman from the health department. He lives here. We were able to secure a mosquito sprayer. So, you know, it's just a phone call away. And then, of course, the county will refer to the state, and then we take it from there. But I will assure you that as far as running the EOC, we've had several that we've had to actually activate the EOC, and it's worked for us, Mayor, and I will be honest, I won't beat around the bush and everything. There's been a lot of change since the previous storms that we've had. I will be honest with you, everything was pitched to the fire department, even to reimbursements. I know it's different now, and I'm glad we're having this workshop for the sense that I think we will utilize the resources that we have now, like for finance to take care of the reimbursement. I take care of all the documentation of all the facilities, any damage that it's assessed through the whole city. Correct, yes, sir. All that's prepared. I meet with FEMA tomorrow in regards to what we have here, the damages that we had, of course, on the sinkholes and the water plant, wastewater plant erosion. And like I said, everything pretty much is laid on us, and we pretty much take the ball and run with it. Sheltering, Parks and Rec is in charge of assisting the American Red Cross with the shelters as far as manning them. With the school district, should we need a shelter, we have the high school that's been certified already by the American Red Cross. And everything's pretty much in line as far as everything, MOUs, everything's in place. It's just a matter of, I know what occurred the other day, it was unexpected. I don't think anybody was expecting that much rain. And I'll be honest with you, I think the rain that fell didn't have a place to go. Los Chaparrales subdivision, I went and I checked it in the morning, and it was dry. A couple hours later, I get a call from the utility director, sanitation director. It was maxed out over there. What happened was that the ditch filled up, and the water just came back. You know, so that's the area. We had a lot of sinkholes. So those have been addressed, and I think within a couple of days we took care of those sinkholes. Now, our major role, it's myself. You call the shots at the time that we activate the EOC. Mr. Arjona is the public information officer for the city. I actually will send all the information to him, and then along with the way we've done it before is that my secretary will put out the PSAs with the local media and our city website. But we'll clear everything through Mr. Arjona. And like I said, it's for the past 12 years, it's been to where there's a hurricane or a tropical storm or whatever, fire department, or they pass it on over to me, or to us actually. So we coincide, work very well with Public Works, utilities, all of us, and we get the job done. And like I said, we were fortunate this time around that we didn't get hit like other cities. I mean, some other cities like Wesco, I mean, you know, resources, Mayor, we're registered with the network. Our equipment that we have available is registered there for anybody that should need it. That's been awarded through us through Homeland Security funds. It's accessible to anybody. It's a matter of them just filling out the proper documentation, and we'll assist them with whatever equipment or personnel that they should need.
Now, as far as, let's kind of, role play, all right? Let's say you get wind, you get the call 72 hours prior to this big old storm gonna hit.
Correct.
What are the directors supposed to do?
I'll meet with them beforehand. As a matter of fact, we're looking, have Sandra making their annex, which is called an emergency management plan. Each director has an annex that it's their responsibility. You'll see it in this one right here.
Chief, where exactly would you meet with every single?
At the EOC.
Okay.
At the EOC.
EOC, okay.
Yes, sir. I think over there now, and speaking of that, I spoke to Mr. Arjona the other day. At one point, that was a good location. It was a big facility. It's generator backup, but I think we should plan for the future. Should we build a new, or now that we're building a new city hall, bring the EOC back to the center of town. You know, and of course, we need to take into consideration that that's where we bunker down, so we have to look to an actual place that we can actually set up all our personnel that are gonna be working. And of course, generator backup is a primary. So, but all that is, I start activating the EOC normally about 5 or 6 days before.
So when we all go, let's say we meet at the EOC, what would be the responsibility for each and single director?
That's where we pretty much, Parks and Rec takes care of sheltering, assisting, PD takes care of the notifications and the patrolling. Public Works, it's going to be the debris removal. What we do, we get everybody and we break them into shifts, but everybody needs to stay there. They need to be ready to go. We've had up to how many people there, Oscar? About 45 people, and we just assign them tasks. And then after the storm, these two that I have documentation on, we set up our teams to go do the debris removal, secure everything, and assess the damages throughout the city.
Now, as far as the storms, can you give me the list of the subdivisions or the areas where it most floods? Like, for instance, we know Hall Acres, we know Las Flores.
Flores,
What else, what other?
Los Chaparrales,
Chaparrales?
and the projects on First and Cougar.
First and Cougar.
Or Juan Maldonado, I think it's a street, right? Yeah,
Oh, out there.
those
Now-
three areas.
Now, I know Mr. Salinas over there on Citrus? Yeah.
We addressed that same day, that got taken care of, and we got the water flowing there.
Okay.
You did a quick sweep through the line, am I correct?
We still need to continue to clean because it's got roots in the system that which was clogging. One of the big things that we found in there when we cleaned it out is a lot of styrofoam cups from like Stripes, a lot of plastic bags that were tied up against the root systems on it. That created like a dam where all the settlement and silt over the years had collected up against it. So we'll continue to clean it and monitor it to continue. And the next thing is to put some kind of a rotary tool to tear out all the roots. So we're looking into that right now.
Now, Mr. Arjona, are we cleaning any, like the manholes and stuff like that where the areas get flooded pretty bad? Or have we even take a look at them down there? And
As a matter of fact, the manholes at First and Cougar, there were 3, right,
We did
by the projects. 4.
there's 2 that were really bad with the cave block. And
y'all cleaned them?
actually a contractor that replaced them, because one had collapsed completely.
Okay.
Contractor replaced them, cleaned that whole line, and then we jetted the line that goes towards the project. Inside the project is a private line, so we haven't touched that one. Until we get the
Interlocal will be,
working on. Once we get that interlocal signed, they're supposed to be sending those to your office, I don't know when that's gonna happen. Then we'll go ahead and go into and jet that line as well.
Okay.
But the other lines, from my understanding from the previous director, they have started working on evaluating the ones where they did have some flooding issues, and on the north side of town, that's where they started to look at the line. One of the areas that is called Canasta, the street Canasta, we have a customer who brought a petition actually to advise us that every time it rains, it fills out. The lines are clean, it was just too much rain, too fast.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
area drains to the detention pond
Mhm.
behind the PD area, back in that subdivision, the detention pond.
Mhm.
That's where most of that area is. So that's the next area that we need to look at, removing debris, cleaning the pond.
I think the only area that hasn't been worked on is going to be First and Cougar. As far as the projects there, Mayor, that area, our plan was, and we've always put it into play, should we get something, we put a pump already out there standby, and we just have somebody go crank it up. We store it, or we used to store it there at Amigos del Valle. Zavala.
Actually, everybody did a good job as far as the city, citywide, and I know I spoke to Mr. Casas and Chief in reference to this, but my concern is kind of deploy our assets, or actually not our assets, but our personnel accordingly, since we already identified some of the problematic areas. Instead of people calling into our office, we already know where they're at, and see if we can build a team to where we can send those representatives to those locations rather than, Chief, you're emergency management, and you're the main guy basically on that, and I'd rather you be centralized to where you have those individuals actually relaying that information to you back, and so we can better and have adequate assistance to those people that rather than calling City Hall and flooding City Hall. I'm pretty sure y'all got flooded by a lot of calls, and those are things that I'm looking at. Kind of build a team to where you get certain people. You know what? You have already identified 1, 2, 3, 4 locations, and you can actually send 4 administrators or directors or whatever the case may be to those locations, and then build a team to where we can address those things almost at the same time, of course, with resource availability, right, obviously. And obviously, we have Mr. Casas here also, that's also involved with the Hidalgo County. I know he's here, he'll be here at times, and then he has to respond Hidalgo County-wide. But I think we have a good assets, I think we have a good team, and it's just kind of structuring that part, and I think it'll be working better so we can do it.
Well, during that time, Commissioner, when we do activate the EOC, we have phone lines directly that go straight for complaints. They're there, we put personnel to man them and start picking up the complaints or the issues that should transpire. We didn't activate the EOC for the simple reason that we pretty much, by the time, within 6 hours, Las Flores was already, subdivision was already taken care of. I did sit down with Mr. Arjona to see if there was any other issues that had been addressed that I didn't know about, but everything was pretty much covered. And of course, we did have the issue on Hall Acres, and of course, this is not the first time that she goes through that. I mean, since I've been here, this is her third or fourth time. And it's unfortunate to see a family like that, but a lot of times, I will be honest with you, it's very hard to get these people to evacuate.
And you're right, but the only thing is that it was kind of a unfortunate area that it happened when everybody's asleep. The weather,
Yes.
of course, Mother Nature does not respect the time or date or the person or race. But if we can actually, you're right, we didn't activate the EOC, but actually that's an actual practice drill to where we can deploy those assets or actually those personnel to see how it actually functions. Then we grade it, and then we can actually adjust or fix or whatever, which is great.
The plan of action on that, Commissioner Sanchez, is going to be, we're going to set up some groups through Everbridge, our notification, and like that, we can do an early start as far as activating the directors and start the process of the needs for the city. Yes, sir?
Directors have any questions for Chief Garza at this time? I mean, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just on the responsibilities of the law enforcement side, appreciate you having been chief. We, on that day, there was a responsibility about evacuation, search and rescue, and we weren't able to do any of those things. And we've been proactive now. I think that the main thing that the public has is that we need to show presence, that we're out there trying to do something. Because many of them are in their houses and just getting flooded, and they don't see any activity. They're like, we abandoned here. So I get some comments from citizens like, hey, I mean, were you guys out there? We were out there, but we couldn't get to them. So we're gonna correct that already. We're already planning with the game wardens. They're already doing a training for us, that a water rescue training course with the pro city manager. I'm gonna submit the paperwork, and but we're also on the asset forfeiture side, we're gonna try and purchase some inflatable boats, so we can show some law enforcement presence on those flooded areas, so people can see, all right, they're here. They're looking out for us. I mean, they're out there because many of the times they will call and say, what's happening? And then you're dealing with special needs, you're dealing with the elderly. Many of them living by themselves. I mean, they're the ones that we need to also make sure that I can tell, I was stuck in the expressway coming from resident. I couldn't get in. Many of us were stuck. So, and I already talked to my staff, is that we don't have vehicles that can go into the water. We all have SUVs, so that's the other plan of action we're doing, that possibly the new fleet that we're going to see in law enforcement are going to be trucks, so we can be access, areas that flood. I mean, of course, this happened, but if it happened once, it might happen again. So I think that that's the things that we need to address, like Commissioner Sanchez saying, is that I think that having these drills and exercises to see if we can actually fulfill those needs, because this storm right here, everybody was affected. So before, when we have storms, we can call in FAR assets, mission assets, because it's only us, but this one, everybody was affected. So all those cities utilize their assets. So we have to have our own San Juan city assets, so we don't have to depend on other assets. Preliminary, Stacy Chief, something that we can have preliminary, the first 24 hours, the first 2 hours, we can rescue our citizens, we can protect our citizens, we can shelter our citizens, because many of the times we gotta assist or get help from other agencies. So I think that, speaking to all the law enforcement chiefs in the valley, we had a meeting and we discussed this, and we're all in the same boat. They were like, hey, your guys, where were they at? They were stuck in the low, we lost some vehicles, law enforcement lost some vehicles, trying to protect people, every department, DPS, Mission, in Wesco, so there was So I think that, thinking outside the box, I know that the fire side has a lot of search and rescue equipment, but we don't have anything in City of San Juan. So that's something that we will discuss with the chief. Maybe we're getting some inflatable boats just to show presence and evacuate people, because that's what the game wardens were doing. That's what some of the citizens were doing. They had boats. They
That's
were
where
doing
we
it. So-
changed now from operations to needs.
Yeah.
You know, we can, you know, and I thank you, Chief, for that, because the needs are there. It's obvious, you know, I know that the budgets are tight. It's not just us, it's all over the place. Securing funding has been difficult also because that's been cut. But, you know, little by little, I think, you know, we can get better prepared. I think just by going through the list right now that I asked David to compile for me, as far as communication with these brush trucks, all these utility trucks that are going out there for operations, at one point or another, these vehicles had radios, mobile radios. And right now, we're at a point to where, you know, there isn't much from the list that I got from David. So from here, we need to work with what we have, improvise, and make it work, because we're not going to let, you know, it's just a matter of either having communication with them via phone, or we know it's not going to, or portable. But the portables are limited, and the ones that we do have are expensive, being now that we switched over to digital. But the needs, yes, pumps, boats, a boat, maybe just one. But, you know, it all depends on to what extent, how prepared we want to get. But I will tell you that in the years that I've been here, we've made it work, and we've pretty much, you know, survived on what improvising, matter of fact, you know, and everybody does cooperate, and the job gets done. You know, I think that's one thing that there's never been an issue, is as far as not being able to work with one another, that never occurred. We work all hand in hand and get it done.
Chief, you said that you were going to get some training with water rescues? Is there with
The game wardens are
Game
they're gonna come to, with the PSDA school district allows us to use a swimming pool, so they're gonna
is
put
there any fire department personnel plugged into that?
well, that's what we're
Oh, okay, good, okay. That'd be perfect, so we can plug in.
Yeah,
every
and it's
aspect.
all a matter of sharing the opportunities as far as training. If whatever we get, you know, we'll share with whoever wants to take that class. And I think one of the first things that we need to see also is, I think you came from the city of FAR, Patrick. Had you taken your ICS classes, the NIMS? You've taken some? Yeah. And working on that, but I think we can pretty much spearhead and get the job done. You know, and as far as the list for needs, I think I pretty much, I will be honest that I think this is the second year or third year that we established that emergency management account, line item. Leroy is the man.
Going back to, I know you mentioned boats and pumps, right, as far as under the needs?
Correct.
I was gonna, later down the road, and maybe even put it on the next city agenda, going back to the pumps, maybe the city signing a contract with one of the companies, you know, who, you know, kind of like a rental-based type of, you know, for the pumps. You know, what I was told is that they'll only charge you for the time that you, obviously, they'll
Utilize
come, yeah, exactly, utilize it, they'll come and set up the pumps wherever you need them.
I think if I may, we can utilize just the basic 213 to get them from somebody else. Am I correct, Casas?
For the 213 that he's referring to, and again, along the process on the deputy MC for Hidalgo County Emergency Management, I take care of pretty much all resources countywide, take care of operations countywide, assist with sheltering and stuff like that. The day of the event, before I went out to deploy, we're pretty much inundated with water here, so I step around in the city, and I'm also the assistant chief in charge of volunteers for the city of Juan. So I
think, on another note, as far as, a lot of times the circulation of, sandbags becomes an issue because, of course, you start getting people from all over the place. We always set up 3 locations, and now actually 4, with Precinct 2 out there on South, I Road. They set up over there also. We use Mayfield Park, we use the recycling, and then, the county park on, Nolana. And so it's pretty much, and that same day, we gave out 1,000 bags. And then by that afternoon, I got staff, and we replenished those 800 back, or those 1,000 back, ready to go. It gets to a point to where, everybody, you'd be surprised how they tend to all pitch in and to get the task done. All the employees, hats off to everybody. It's, the only thing I can tell you is that where I say that, nobody actually, the paperwork for FEMA is very tedious and time-consuming. So a lot of times, there were people that were in finance here before was like, hey, Chief, well, you all were out there, you all do it. So I brought you where we taken care of all the reimbursements for 2 storms that we've gotten, and we've gotten reimbursed. But I'll enlighten, Sandra will enlighten Leroy on this when the time comes like that, we can get participation from them.
You had mentioned earlier about PSJ High School being one of the
Correct.
central.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, I'm just throwing scenarios to you so
Go
that
ahead.
way, we're all.
Go ahead.
Okay. If they tell you that Hidalgo County has to evacuate no matter what, where would be the drop-off point for Hidalgo County in order for them to ship people up?
In 2008, Mayor, they set up the convention center. McAllen Convention Center, the buses were waiting over there,
Now, here's my next question to you.
our pickup points.
Exactly, okay. You have people in the north, you have people in the south. We're gonna take them to the high school, right?
Thanks. That's a shelter. A pickup point's gonna be Dodines.
Okay,
Right
Dodines.
Right off of,
Okay.
Raul Longoria.
Okay.
We'll utilize the buses from the school district, drop-off
Exactly.
points.
Okay, but what I'm trying to ask you is, where would be the pickup point for people on the north side that have no transportation whatsoever? That's why we gotta figure out what would be the good pickup point over there.
But then we would have to utilize the school buses and go subdivision per subdivision and just
Well, I was
putting it out.
thinking maybe just notifying the citizens on the north side that we can pick a location, even if they have to walk, because they're not gonna be able to take, you know what I'm saying? And just utilize that, location for a pickup point and pick them up there instead of, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, going through neighborhoods to
Correct.
neighborhoods. And then you got some streets that you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah,
put the
exactly.
buses
Well,
through.
then, of course, we're talking about 72 hours out, and they're gonna give us ample time to prepare and evacuate. And I guarantee you, we saw it firsthand, a lot of people do not want to evacuate.
No, I know.
Because the first thing is, they're gonna rip me off, I'm gonna come back and I'm not gonna find anything,
I was with you when we were at the
Yeah.
Hall Acres, and I heard it, you're right.
And
I
but
was
no,
like,
we'll establish a drop-off point or a pickup point, and then from there, we take them, we register them manually, because we don't have the luxury of the electronic. Maybe, we can request it through the state to keep track of everybody, to make sure we know where they wind up, because not necessarily, they don't have to go to San Antonio, they could go to Laredo, so we need to know exactly where they're going.
Exactly. So then from the convention center, we gotta bus them from here to the convention center, right?
The state takes over on that. Am I correct, Rolly?
And, just to clarify, the McAllen Convention was the hub.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been, we asked that question at the beginning of this hurricane season because of all the, new buildings around the convention center. The parking isn't the same as it was before.
Correct.
So we've been discussing that with the state. A couple of weeks before this current storm, we had a meeting in, Cameron County with, Chief Kidd. Chief Kidd is, we he's, Texas, Department of Emergency Management Director. He's the EMC for the state of Texas. So of course, he reports to the governor
Yeah, but what if the individual's disabled or?
No, those we pick up first,
Oh,
Mayor.
okay, okay, all
Those
right.
we get the list, the registry,
Uh-huh.
and we find out, that's why I'm telling you, a lot of times we'll go through this list, and this is, you're talking about 120 hours out or whatever, we start making contact with these people. These people are the first ones to go.
Yeah, but let's say if someone ends up getting disabled last week, and they're not on that list, and they do need the, you see what I'm saying? Yes, sir. It's, that's still, and I understand what you're saying, but for,
And in that aspect, they still have family. So our message always needs to be family first, always. Because if you're gonna go out there and say, hey, I am the mayor of San Juan, and anybody that needs a ride, I'm picking you up. We don't do that. There's no possible way that the county can do that. You know, so we push, it's on you, you prepare your house, that's why we let you all know beforehand. We have all these programs available, prepare your house, clean your gutters, clean your dishes, don't throw trash, no illegal dumping, all that stuff that we tell them. And evacuation, once that order is given, it's on you to get out.
That is a good idea, that's a good aspect to do, but like he says, we have to preach the dues and what they have to do to safeguard themselves. Now, the question now is going to rise, and I'm about to ask it, and I'm pretty sure somebody's already thinking it before anybody says, what is the city and what are we doing to educate our citizens as a San Juan resident from here of the methods of evacuation out of the city? Now, are we going to wait until the day of it's going and hailstorm is over us? Or can we start a campaign like yesterday and start saying, you know what, these are the evacuation routes, like Dodines? I live just down the street, I didn't know Dodines had it there.
that's why we're having
So,
this,
yeah, right.
this round
So,
table
yeah,
deal,
so-
because it needs to start like,
Yeah, so.
Now, yeah.
Obviously, well, you just told me we don't have it. So I think that's something we have to prepare to educate our citizens to actually let them know the evacuation routes, the storm shelters or the shelters that they're in place like that. People from the north side, they know where to go, people from the south side, and continue doing it throughout the year and preach it till they're blue. And I think that's something we have to prepare, I think.
And again, the dairy prepared that we have that has gone on there in the last part, we've been having it for years, and we try to push it out. I know, again, FD, PD, they've been out there with us at times as well, and we push that message. And your all social media does have a lot of followers, and that's what we use also in our account. We use our social media to push out all that information for the people responsive recovery aspect, like the different problems that we're using, different types of things. We push that out on social media because we can't get to everybody. So we depend on hopefully the word of mouth that they share themselves with their neighbors and stuff like that on the page. But, yeah, being proactive and getting to your citizens is.
We'll start putting a plan together, either through, we can also do through the billing, our monthly billing, put out flyers, and then maybe at one point, when we have our events, push the emergency or evacuation or hurricane awareness through that also. And of course, the emergency management plan is not just for hurricanes, or for any inclement weather. It can be utilized for a lot of things, but I'm with you on that. I'll work on that and getting a plan together and putting it out there. Educate the public.
And you remember, you all have a lot of partners to assist you all. LRGBDC, they assist with helping sponsor paper stuff, give out written material, anything like that. LRGBDC.
FEMA.
They're with Daisy and everybody over there, they assist us in the county. Chief calls us, or chief calls us, either one of the chiefs. If they call us for any type of assistance, we add it to our schedule and we'll assist on even giving the training to help you all out. It's John just let us know. We're there to serve ourselves and the county fire marshals as well,
Let me,
These type of city events and stuff like that that you all want. I know I get the request forms for the mobile command traders, generators, so on and so forth, the mosquito machine, all this other stuff. But hey, we're there to help you. And I let most of you know whenever we talk, whatever you need, let us know. And we're there. Our part as a county is to assist any agency or any city that asks for help.
I could, real quick in pre-planning, I guess, for anything that's coming up in the near future. Of course, we know that August and September is our peak season for us. I think we could pretty much put a plan into place that these areas that did flood, we'll set up the pumps there, way beforehand and just get prepared, because we do know that with what we recently had, like the chief said, everybody had an issue. And it's very obvious that what used to be agriculture now is subdivisions, you know, and that water drains, and the system that's there is not capable of handling what we got. So what we can do in the next storm that we get or anything, or hurricane or whatever, we'll pre-plan and setting those pumps up beforehand in the areas of concern that we had this time around, and we'll be prepared.
I was approached by some of the citizens, and they found out that we were having this round table. And, you know, you have a lot of citizens out there in our community that want to help. You know, they just want to volunteer their time. And they were asking me if there's any way that they can be part of this management, emergency management team, in the sense that once we have a shelter in place, they can be there and help and assist, and, you know, food, pillows, you know what I'm saying? I guess this question's for Mr. Palacios. How can we go about it legally, as far as maybe having citizens apply, you know, fill out an application wanting to volunteer their services? Maybe not do what we're all, you know, going to do, just in the sense that just going to the shelters.
For your high school, if I may, Mayor, has the Teen CERT. City of Westlaco leads that program pretty much for the valley, and they host the CERT, which is a Citizens Emergency Response Team. So you have a team here at the high school, and those kids go out there and
No,
help.
and which is great.
So your citizens can do the same. They have that
Yeah,
training for
exactly.
adults, and that goes through LRGV.
And as far as the legal aspect, you know, obviously there's got to be some kind of waiver and all this,
Well,
or,
I'm not sure there's a waiver, but, I mean, obviously, there's different tasks or different type of emergency situations. Obviously, you're not gonna allow a citizen to.
no, of course not, no,
Run
no.
into a blazing fire to.
No,
kind of
no,
help
no,
this
no.
or that, but I think at the end of the day, I think we probably should have, we could set up some sort of citizen emergency, task or response team, but identify the areas that they would be an assistant in, and not necessarily.
And the
And not
areas that they were interested is just helping at the shelter. That's it. Not out in the road, I mean,
So, and Red Cross.
They were
Lena-
seeking volunteers the other day. They went by the
Exactly.
station. The lady gave us a quick presentation there, that they're always asking for volunteers to assist. You know, so it would either go to the CERT program, or they can actually get certified, maybe possibly to the American Red Cross through their program.
Both of those
That's what
trainings
I
are
need to
free.
know. All right, good.
And I can look into, obviously, you know, you have volunteers that are getting onto either city or school property, and you have, obviously, you're taking in citizens, either shelters or whatever, you want to make sure, and I know that we do it all the time when we have Parks and Recs, and we get coaches, and we do what, background checks and so forth or
Oh,
whatever.
no, of course.
So we can obviously set up this type of citizen task force or whatever, and mimic some of the stuff that we do on some of on Parks and Rec, and do some background checks. And kind of, and then maybe an application, and obviously let us know what their strong points are, where would they like to help in or whatever, and then kind of identify some of those areas. But I think we should be good if we at least do our due diligence in making sure that we're not creating a situation where we have, I don't want to say an unqualified person, but somebody who may not, who may be on city property, but we may not want to.
No,
need
yeah,
their assistance or
and
whatever.
I mean, that's
On
understandable.
those programs, the scope of those individuals are very specific to what they do. So they have specific training on, like their likes. If the children or the adults like that type of sheltering operations or feedings or cleanups and stuff like that, they get trained specifically for that. But City of Westlaco does have, I think it's a group of 3 or 4 personnel from the fire department that take care of that aspect. I mean, because they have to continue the training, the equipment and stuff, there's grants for the equipment that the kids get or the adults get. They get their backpacks, their hard hats, their gloves, all that other stuff. So there's funding out there for it. But to add on to the tasks that you all already have to start a program like that, I think it'd be
Also,
difficult.
one year we did activate a shelter, and what transpired there, and actually that young lady who went by the station the other day to give her presentation, the American Red Cross is not going to deny anybody, and they don't know. All they're doing is just taking names. But for us, that one time that we opened the shelter, back then, they were short on officers, so nobody was screening anybody. They were just walking in. And let me tell you, that's one uneasy situation that you want to have is, you know, how do you control, where do you put them or anything like that? Well, you don't know, actually. So I think now it should be a totally different ballgame as far as, should we open a shelter? I think we'll go work hand in hand with the police chief, with the police, to make sure we screen everybody.
And that's what I'm saying, just if we can start that, look into that, and I say that so that way, when the time comes, you know, we're okay, we can do this, then put it out on our website and ask the citizens, whoever's interested in volunteering when it comes to something like this.
Your volunteer hours also count for FEMA reimbursement to meet the threshold? I mean, Hidalgo County has a threshold that we have to meet, and then the state, of course, so those hours that they put in count as monetary to meet that threshold as well.
The threshold is
2.7?
2.7, right?
2.7. For Hidalgo County. 37.
That's what we're working on right now, getting those numbers in to meet that $37 million mark in order for us to get reimbursed for all the rescue operations, all the equipment use, the man hours and stuff like that that you all did, that were part of the operation. That's the number we have to hit. If we don't hit it, we don't get any of that reimbursement.
That's where I'll put it out there that I'm one of those that I like to go check to make sure it gets done. You know, I'm sorry, but that's the way I am. I make sure, like with this previous storm, I needed pictures, I needed everything, and yeah, we'll get them. And right now, I'm out looking for pictures, you know, because they weren't taken the way they're supposed to. So now, I've always been that way. I'll go myself and check to make sure I'll obtain the information that I need, because I want to make sure.
Right, Chief, and that's why I'm trying to say, like, put those representatives at those locations so your job can be easier. It's talking about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And actually, I did see you, and I commend every single city employee. I never seen so many employees so excited to work. You know, I'll be honest with you. But this, what we're doing right now, it's not about that we're doing anything wrong or anything like that. I think it worked great. I think we're opening ourselves to make it better.
Sure.
And how to better service our citizens. So let's get that on record, make sure that we're doing that. It's not because we're defaulting in some issues. We weren't. I think we did a good job. And I think that, but like you said, you like hands-on, and I'm a hands-on type of guy also. And I think you're right. And I think if we put those personnel where they're supposed to, it can work a little faster and fluent better. You know, that's what I think. That's a good idea.
Directors, anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
We got some calls from citizens, or they asked officers out on the road when they're taking calls that, I don't know if it's true or not, but they're saying that if they were flooded already, let's say they were flooded 2 years ago, that FEMA required them to get flood insurance.
I even paid them. If they made a claim through FEMA, FEMA actually gave them 2 years of the premium policy to get paid, but then they needed to continue it after the third year.
So if they got flooded again, some of them decided, they said they were not gonna submit for FEMA because they said they cannot get reimbursed. So
No,
I
they
mean,
still
is
need
that-
to-
Is that true?
No, they still need to apply.
They still need to apply? Okay.
Yes, sir. They still need to apply.
And FEMA's words are, everybody's gonna get denied.
Yeah.
You know, the first time. The thing is that they have to appeal it and keep going. There's the 1-800 numbers that they have out there for registration, or you can do it online. There's a question that is asked on there, and that's one thing that I would hope you all spread the message to is, and you didn't have very many affected here in San Juan, I mean, thank goodness. But for those that were, when they're applying and they're doing the application, one of the questions that asked is, are you willing to relocate? And everybody's automatically putting no, no, no. So that's an automatic denial, you know? So because what you're saying there by putting no is that if they're gonna go help you, we're gonna place you in a hotel room for a week or whatever to clean up. That's what that question means. It doesn't mean that, hey, I'm gonna move you to San Antonio or move you elsewhere, that question is just, hey, will you relocate while we clean up your house? And FEMA's application doesn't explain it to you. Everything in small writing, it just says, will you relocate? So a lot of individuals are putting no, and that's an automatic denial. So just letting your friends know, if you have friends in Westlaco, Mercedes, anywhere of those affected areas, that's the way that.
A lot of
that's
times,
going on.
we met with the FEMA reps, and a lot of times they're saying that an application could get denied just for the simple reason that they're missing a number on the Social Security or something's not matching, and a lot of people just give up and say, no, you know what, I'm not gonna go through this.
That's the thing that I had the other day that I went to Louisiana and asked the same question, because there's still some tarps on some homes from Katrina. And those are the things that, and I came back and I'm thinking, and we're going back, is there a way, I know it's a lot of moving parts during natural disasters. Is there something that we can actually help our citizens also, even to help them or assist them with the forms, or teach them how to do the forms? Some people don't have computers or don't have the ability to get through those things done, and they fall through the cracks.
So the teams that are down here now, you said they're gonna be here with you tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So when the teams come down, they'll get, the way they did it with us with the county, and they did it with the cities, that they'll go and they'll meet with the EMC and directors or whoever. They'll have a small closed session meeting, and they'll say, okay, show me what your affected areas are. And Chief Garza does that already. You know, he had already told me Hall Acres, Sergeant Trevino, the locations, Las Flores, they already know. So when they come in, they meet with y'all and they say, okay, they don't tell you the exact number of homes that are affected that they're looking for y'all to qualify or to meet that deal. That's on them, and they keep it secret. They don't tell us either. So they go out there, and then they say, okay, take us out. So once they go out there, they'll find how many homes, so on and so forth. Once you meet that number, hey, you're good to go. So then later, they'll send another team, and those teams go door to door and actually register everybody. And we request it. So that request comes from the county to the state for those FEMA members. And of course, here for the Valley, we automatically request every one of those individuals to be bilingual. And they are. So they go door to door and do the applications there for the ones that don't have those means. And they go with the iPad and do everything for them. And they do it outside of their door. So those individuals are gonna be, they've been down here for the past week and a half, I believe, going Westlaco, Mercedes, all those locations. So now they're coming into your area. So they'll be wearing.
That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I had asked our state rep, Mando Martinez, to be here present. And once again, thank you so much. You know, like I said, he's been with legislation for 16 years. You've been through plenty of these storms. So, sir, you got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
And you know, yesterday, thank you very much, and always good to be here. Yesterday, I was in Austin. We had our hearing in CRT, Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, and one of the topics was to discuss the Hurricane Harvey incident, and Chief Kidd was there. And but our storm that happened here played into it perfectly. So a lot of the discussion was, how do we prepare and how do we get ready for it? You know, there were some ideas of maybe a boat registration, because a lot of times you have people that want to volunteer, come out with boats, but are they the right boats? Are they the correct ones? Do we go through a registration list of everybody who's registered on Texas Parks and Wildlife, and then we go ahead and disperse them? But one thing that was said is that, you know, as far as people volunteering and showing up to the disaster and wanting to help, I mean, it's very well organized, especially in our county. And that is one thing that Chief Kidd did mention, is that we are very organized. Our cities were very organized when it came to the volunteers and the supplies and sending everybody to the food bank, you know, donations and things of that nature. But one of the things that we discussed was post disaster. What happens then with a muck out? For example, there's over 250 families right now in Mexico that don't have any help to remove all the debris out of the house. You know, the sheetrock and the flooring and the damaged furniture and things of that nature. So one of the discussions was, how do we get volunteers and groups that we can depend on after post-disaster to go into these homes and help people in our house? Because we have everything prepared up to the disaster. And then we clean the debris in the, you know, all the debris that's around the city or the county, but then what about the people that are displaced afterwards? And what do we do with them, and how do we address their issues? A lot of times they wait for FEMA to come in and help them with the assistance, but how long does it take until they actually get some funding to do that? So an idea was setting up organization, different types of, in different communities, all those volunteers that are organized in order to do that, and have them set up so in the event of a disaster, they come in post-disaster and start going to these homes and doing the muckouts for these people and helping them out. So those were some of the discussions that we had. Another thing was temporary dump sites, because as we saw in Westlaco and driving up and down the streets of Westlaco, you had debris all over the place. People that were taking debris out of their homes and just dumping them along the street, dumping them in open land. So designating some of those dump sites, temporary dump sites, and of course, you'll have the state government, which we could help in lifting a lot of those restrictions with TCEQs so that we could designate those areas in the event that something else happens. So those are some of the ideas and things that we discussed, and the effects that not only Harvey, but what we did. One of the suggestions that I talked to Chief Kidd about was, we talk about so many large drainage projects and regional projects that we want to fund, but what is something that we can do now in our cities? And that's what I'm going to ask, all the cities in my district, and starting with San Juan, is what are some of the projects that we can do now that can help alleviate a lot of what's running in these areas? Some quick projects that we could get funding for that could help you today in the event that we have another rain tomorrow, or if we have a hurricane, and God help us, right, that we don't. But we're in hurricane season in November, so these are things that we need to prioritize and think of, and how much would that cost you? In talking to Commissioner Fuentes over there, one of the ideas he had was 60 acres and doing a detention pond and then some laterals that would cost about $5 million to do in the drainage district right now, is working with them and setting up some schematics on that. And when I talked to Chief Kidd about it, all of this goes under the, our hazard mitigation grants that we can apply for. So I'm going to ask our cities to start thinking of some quick projects that maybe cost $2-3 million that we can, do under our hazard mitigation grant, and we could, give those ideas and that amount to Chief Kidd, so that way we could run them through the federal government to try and get some money. Now, you have 75% of the money is paid for through the federal government, 25% is paid by locally or other entities. It could be through volunteer hours, it could be through supplies, through equipment, through labor, things that we've done, and that could make up the 25%. You can even work with the county and the county commissioner to see if we can all, make up those 25% for that project to get it funded. One thing Chief Kidd did say is, if you bring me those projects, the sooner we can get them and identify that with that grant program and the application, we can slip them into the Harvey money that we're going to be requesting. And being that you all were affected in that area, that is how we can draw that money. So that's a little bit of food for thought. And those were some of the things that I was thinking about, quick fixes now and not waiting for large regional projects, but things that we can count on that could actually help us alleviate a lot of the flooding problems.
I think what happened with us, State Rep, there you go, is that we have our infrastructure in place. It was just overwhelmed with the amount of water we got,
That was a lot of the, being out in the field and doing the response stuff. That's what a lot of the complaints were, like, hey, the system's broken and this and that. No, the system worked. It was just the difference over the years, as we all know, from treetops to rooftops. All the orchards and everything that we have are all now subdivisions, so all that just flows. Nothing gets absorbed anymore. And everything goes that way. So which is why we were spared as much as we do. And the areas that do flood, like Chief said, pre-positioning a pump over that Hall Acres area, the only times we've had issues with those subdivisions is when that canal there in the back on Hall Acres is at capacity. When the rainfall is so significant that it's at capacity, that's when we have issues. Other than that, City of San Juan flows good all the time. We never have had any issues, only when that canal is in capacity. So
issues that we brought up are very important. The district is always willing to help out the city in any way that they can. I know that it's very important for us to educate the community of the different things, points where we're going to be meeting in the event that we have a catastrophic event or a hurricane and this type, as far as transportation, shelters, manpower. I know that in South Far, Las Milpas area, we opened up one of the middle schools during this last event that we had, and we had it manned up with security, with custodians. The whole community was there. They provided food for the people that were there. It wasn't a whole lot of people. I think we had about 20, 30 families. But it just, you know, we're ready for whatever, you know, assistance that the school district could provide to the 3 different municipalities.
I appreciate it.
Speaking of, excuse me, Mayor.
Go ahead, Chief.
I think we might want to consider, Mr. Zambrano, is getting into the communication system altogether, as far as, like, I think San Juan and Alamo, FAR has their own communication, but we don't have no communication with you all at all. They haven't made the transition to digital. So with us, if we were to utilize your buses, we would have to lend them a portable for us to be able to communicate to see where that bus is actually at. Maybe we can work something out to where I know Alamo jumped on with FAR as far as with their communication. I think we're the ones that just haven't made that jump, but I'd like to include the school district, because you all play a major role with us when it comes to a situation like this. Everybody's hungry.
Yeah, that's probably something that we would have to request from the school district. I don't have that information with me, but I'll go ahead and.
Hidalgo County has the same as the city of San Juan, Everbridge. Yeah. We use the same notification system.
Also, as far as that grant goes for Hurricane Harvey, would that include software like citizen response management system?
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because one thing Chief Vic said is that in-house they're developing a TAP program, that one thing you didn't lose was service on your cell phones, and they also found out they didn't lose that during Harvey. And so if you have somebody that's picking up, let's say on a boat, right, and they're picking up a family, which is what we were talking about earlier, how many people do they have in that residence? So it actually pinpoints the residence, the location, you know, the address, how many people you're picking up from that area, and where you're dropping them off. Because one thing that they were finding out is that they didn't know where people were going, where they were being left, or where to take them. So that would actually give you a location. So as far as software and all that, yes.
And our Everbridge also includes mapping as well.
Yes, sir.
So, and we also push out our MJ apps, so we can even put like our water bill, like QR code, you can put like a magnet that we give out to all the residents, you slap it on their fridge with a QR code, they can download it if they don't already have it, and then we can push it out with that.
The deal with, we used to have code red before, and there was constant. So a lot of people started opting out. Then we went to Everbridge, and Everbridge is one of those that's consistent until you respond, it'll stop sending you the message, right? So a lot of people opt out after that, but, you know, it's a matter of just educating them and letting them know the purpose of them having this app. Like that, we can communicate with them a lot easier.
EOC and training of the directors and everything like that. The city also have access, you all also have access to our web EOC, all right? And chief has access to it and stuff like that. And if you identify those workers that are gonna be in the, at the EOC, we can get you all access to. If y'all need training on them, we have training at the Hidalgo County Health Department once a month. One of our other deputies, one of the other deputy EMCs gives that trainings. And it's a very good tool. So the 213 forms and accountability and all that stuff gets logged in there. It stays saved there. I deployed to Harvey, took care of operations on response in Harvey. So if I need to go back to that information, it's saved under the event. So it's there. So the information will always stay there in case y'all need to reference it at any time. if y'all start practicing that, it'll be there instead of in a different jump drive here and there that can get lost or damaged. This is saved in our server. So that's also something that you all have available to you all as well.
As far as Everbridge is concerned, should we do another push to get people to sign up again?
I think we should. Yeah.
I want to, if we can advertise, KM is here, so that they can help us out with the flyers, the promotional.
Introduce them, who they are.
Ms. KM, Karina Cardosa. Yeah, yeah.
We do public relations, we just got on board with the city, and we're here to help you promote outreach. I already listed like 4 items that we could definitely help the city in getting information and awareness out to the community
Great,
for an event like this.
great, thank you so much.
And our background, as you know, comes, we're PIOs of the county, so we're real familiar with, we're the PIOs for emergency response during, I believe, the 2012 event, or meeting or something like that. So we're real familiar with emergency operations.
And I already spoken to Ms. Amy, whom is our new interim IT. Accessible to the public. I know that there's a lot of things that we need to improve on, such as those free courses that are being offered, then maybe we can bring them on after our staff meetings or during the staff meetings, so that's something that we need to be more aware of, whether there's an courses or whatever courses are that we all need to be, that we all need to take on that we haven't taken. So, yeah, but thank you for being here.
Commissioner Neto, do you have anything before I guess we close it up? Anyone else has?
The only thing, I talked to you guys along, maybe about a week after all this happened. The problem that we having also is when it's flooded out there, people intend to go out there just to go see what's there, and they get their cars into the water, and they get stuck. You know, they're adding more to the problem instead of, and I know that a lot of the streets were blocked, were with barricades and all that, but people still ran around those.
We were pulling out a lady out of a car, and still, I saw her when she was on business in Nebraska, and she still turned that way, because she was going to work. She said, I need to get to work. I work at Walmart, and I go in at 8 o'clock. I said, ma'am.
That's some of the problems that we do run across.
So she wound up leaving her car there, and, I mean, we tried our best, you know, taking people out, of course, that's all we're going for, you know, is to get these people out of these vehicles, but a lot of people that were on the road were going to work.
Educate them not to go out and not to go through there.
I agree. With public safety, that we're always gonna have that. You know, I've been working, you know, it's real hard to actually have these people out of the road, and it's tough.
And I'm also guilty because I was one of the ones who went out there, but I went to help. I pulled 3 cars out with my truck, but there was a car floating on Stewart, right in front of the PSJ kitchen area. There was a car that was pointing this way, and a trailer just went by, and the car was just floating backside, turn around. But, yeah, that's one of, and it's gonna be hard to stop those, but there'll be a good way we can educate them.
One of the needs also is it's barricades that we need.
Do we have any number of barricades or no?
We've got a few.
So we don't have that many.
Yeah.
Do we have any, David, do you have any?
When's the next budget meeting, man?
Oh, yeah.
I hope I answered everybody's questions.
Yeah. Any other questions for Chief Garza or Chief Gonzalez or directors? I mean, go ahead, sir. Right, yeah, no, I agree.
And we're lucky that our backbone didn't go down this time, but we have trouble in certain areas with our communication and the water.
Mhm.
Look at dropping the backbone for that.
Mhm.
We lucked out on this one, we lose it. But there's times during normal weather that the wind blows, so not good communication in the office, with water. So that's something to look at. Of course, the other one, we mentioned pumps and hoses, of course, we can't go through county or city, but like I mentioned today, pretty much everybody in the valley was affected, so we can't have those predatory.
Yeah, that's something that I plan to put it on our next agenda, so that way we can talk about it.
They do charge you standby fee for the city.
Exactly.
Of course, they're charging you the hourly fee for running on.
Mhm. Great.
But one of the other ones is that, the chief brought it up, is a lot of us, even some communities, we give the rehab, in other words, attempt to try to help somebody who's in the same situation.
Right.
We don't have high profile cases, we shouldn't even be attempting, as far as we have a couple of. Those are just a couple of items that I think we need to address.
Okay.
You know, Representative Martinez brought up some quick, project communication. One of the things that I've seen here is the expansion of the training center. That's pretty simple, pretty inexpensive, it'll allow for additional attention, both regionally and with, some of the areas we're have some things.
Pending on high-profile vehicles through the process through the state, also through the Forest Service, so it'll be a plus for us. It'll help a lot, the high-profile.
To the wireless, we would like to upgrade, and I'm looking into it already, for our water tower, which is our wireless backbone. There's a GPS module in there, so we can actually make sure that we're in alignment and all of the people are home, that the VPN and that. I don't know if that would fall right with that.
Anything that helps hazard mitigation.
On that wish list, Mayor, and I know these guys were talking about it, one thing that Sheriff's Office had issued with and a lot of the other responding agencies were lack of waiters. So the fire department going in there in their bunker gear, I mean, that's not very good, and I had a lot of fire departments doing that. A lot of the police officers going in their regular duty uniforms and bulletproof vest and everything, and so waiters, at the time of the event, people were trying to go to Academy and buy some, there was none. Sheriff's Office tried to do that and stuff like that. We went through Granger, we went everywhere. But I mean, it didn't stop the guys from wanting to help and from being out there. But once we start getting all that water from the septic tank coming up and everything, it becomes a very bad situation for our guys. So that would be one of the things I would recommend on stocking up for your public works, for your fire, for your police, and issue them out during those type of events because they are needed. And what we did in our office is we bought some real good ones to where you can decon them afterwards and reuse them the next season. So spend a little bit more now.
I want to give you guys a big thank you for all the hard work that you do in this community, okay? You guys, and I've always said it, that you guys are the backbone, and you're the ones that make this, city go. So thank you so much on behalf of me, the commission. Commissioner Sanchez, I don't know if you want to say a couple words.
That's pretty much it. I know me and Mayor and some of the commissioners also, that they're not here. We talked our concerns about public safety. And that's the key issue here, public safety, and how do we get them before and after the post inclement weather incidents. But I want to thank every single one of you. I know everybody makes a big role here, and we're all here to work together. I know Ms. Assassine opened this library for a family, I believe, right, that was misplaced because of weather. And here I'm trying to make everybody work together so we can get to one common goal, is public safety, and just better service our community. Thank you, every single one of you, for being here in attendance.
Real quick, we did have two employees from the city that lost everything. We're having a fundraiser for them August 25th. Tickets are available, $7 a plate. It's some.
Buy it from me, buy it from me.
I didn't bring mine. I'm pushing up, but I didn't even bring mine.
I didn't get mine.
I know. I saw Leroy with his. Well, there you go.
Where's the location?
Fireman's Park.
Okay, on Surgeon. Great.
And that is the reason why one of the department directors is not here with us, because she's with the attendant to FEMA.
Good.
As we speak.
Okay, well, guys, That's
Food and
it.
refreshments, so.
Yes, help yourself out, okay? Thank you so much.
you.
You want to take a picture or what?
Oh, yeah, let's take a picture.
Guys,